All right, guys, let's kick this thing off. There's always some late people, so I'll just kind of monitor the room here as we go. So today we get to talk about sellers, which is exciting because I think I don't know, there's some great material. I love to show you guys photography and some things from a condition standpoint that we can do to make a house rock and shine. And we're also going to talk about pricing because you can still overprice a house in this market. And we'll talk a little bit more about that too. All right, so let me share my screen and we will head over there. My goodness gracious. I'm getting lit up, y'all. It's 11 o'clock. It's when all the phone calls start. All right, here we go. All right, so prospecting for sellers, just kind of go back just a little bit. We talked a ton about buyers, and when you're newer agents, you do tend to get more buyers right out of the gate. For whatever reason, you're showing yourself in neighborhoods, you're doing previews, you're in new home construction communities, and typically you just pick up some buyers fairly easily. Usually we all get to a place though where we want more listings, right? Because you can have a life and have listings. Like you theoretically could go on vacation, you could still negotiate a contract and not physically being driving people an hour here and an hour there. Bethany, I'm sure you could shake your head. Yes, girl. Working with buyers gets exhausting after a while, even though they're wonderful. I love them because you get super excited about the process of buying. But we all want more sellers. We need more sellers in this market. We're at just a real deficit for inventory too. So please, y'all, do activities to go get us some more listings. Truly, we need it. So just to recap some things that you can do to get listings, and then we'll talk more about what you do once you make that appointment. Go door knock, do open houses, invite the neighbors, right? Potentially they be thinking of selling maybe in the spring. So have it open. Invite people to come. Don't roll your eyes when the neighbor comes and they're like, I'm a nosy neighbor. They're potential. They may be thinking, or they may know someone in that community that's also considering it as well. So door knock, open houses. You can do some farming, although I think to farm and be successful, you have to show some results and you have to send to these neighborhoods month after month after month. So sometimes that can be lengthy to see the return there. But it can be a worthwhile thing to do to get more listings as well. Referrals. Y'all don't snooze on these. If you're with EXP, make sure that you are members of Honey Badgers, Fast Forward Group, and also all the EXP referral groups in Workplace, and have Workplace on your phone so you get notifications when people ask for referrals. I'm fortunate, I get tagged on some of those for the coast, and I love it. That's great. That's easy. That's a nice introduction to someone that I didn't have to pay to get that lead or pay to put my name on a billboard. Referrals are awesome. Obviously, standard, gold standard. We all hate to do it, but it's certainly, if you're looking for hot seller leads, expireds, for sell by owners, they still need our help. They really do. Circle prospecting, and that's making some phone calls to a neighborhood saying, hey, just listed, just sold. Or I have a buyer that I'm working with that really wants your neighborhood. Who do you know? That's also circle prospecting. And you can flush up a listing that's maybe not appropriate for your actual buyer, but it could be a long-term nurture to become a listing in the future. So keep that in mind. Warm leads are buying. This one always kind of cracked me up, but I had an occasion. It's actually a Freedom Builders person. They were helping them on the buy side and really didn't talk to them about listing their home. They randomly called me to list their house. I'm sure that agent was irritated that they didn't get both sides of it. And I thought it was kind of strange too, but don't forget to ask those questions. If you're working with a buyer, do you have a home to sell? Ask it right out of the gate. People get confused. They don't understand how real estate works. So don't lose out on a listing because you just didn't ask if they had something to sell. Okay. Always look for that opportunity. All right. So let's move on. So now that you have the appointment, now what? This is where I get a lot of phone calls with newer agents. It's like, holy crap, somebody wants me to come out. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. right? So let's start talking about that right now. There is a listing presentation in our script book, and I'm actually going to show it to you in just a second. Um, you know, scripts give you the words of what to say, and then you have to practice it to understand how to say them. Let's talk about scripts for a second. It's a love-hate relationship. Most of us, myself included, I hate scripts. But guess what I sometimes do when I'm getting ready to talk to someone about an uncomfortable conversation, like a price reduction or something? I'll actually make notes. And what is that? That's a script. So don't be afraid of it. If you practice it, you own it. It becomes yours. And that way you're not stumbling and wondering, what do I say? How do I say it? You have something provided for you. Tina Call used a listing presentation from Mike Ferry for a long time. So if she did that and she's uber successful, then I think we certainly could model that as well. I'm going to show you in a second, but pre-qualification script and questions is super important. And the reason why is that it helps you understand the objection before you ever even get there. If you ask really great questions before you walk through the door, wouldn't it be nice to know what questions they may have? Like, are they going to rake you over the coals on commission? Do they have a price in mind? It would be nice to know that right up front, so that you can look at your comps and see, is that reasonable? Is it not? Am I really going to have to work really hard to kind of bring them down into reality? Then maybe I pull some extra comps. Have you ever thought about for sale by owner themselves? Well, that's kind of important to know, because maybe commission is going to be important, or maybe they don't understand the real value of a real estate agent. So if I know what that objection is going to be, then I'm more armed with information when I go. Or if marketing is important to them, obviously I'm going to spend more time there too. It also helps you understand their motivation to sell. One thing Tina used to say, and I loved it, was, if someone is super motivated, like they have to sell their house because maybe they have a job to go to, I may take a listing that's a little overpriced, because I know their motivation is so high that I could probably get them down at a price reduction if I need to. If their motivation is not there and they're just, hey, if somebody offered me $1 million for my house, but I'm not really all that interested in selling, I want to know that too, because you're spending money up front and you want to know if your people are really reasonable and if they're truly motivated to sell. Just keep in mind, I think two of the most common ones that people will verbally ask you is price and commission. People think their houses are worth sometimes a lot more than the reality of what it's really worth. So you'll have to be able to handle that one. And comps in the script really help you phrase that well. And then commission. I was on Nextdoor last night, and there was a whole post on why you don't need a realtor and why you can just for sale by owner and sell it yourself. Or who would take a listing under 6%. So sellers are very savvy right now too. So you should know, right? You should know why you're worth the amount that you are, and already have that practice out on what you're going to say around commission, because it will come up for sure. And then what I would always tell agents too is know that you are answering the silent objection. Why should I hire you? What's important about you? What's different from you than any other real estate agent out there? In Wake County alone, I believe there's between 8,000 and 9,000 licensed real estate agents. So what's your deal? What sets you apart? I try to answer that question as I go along. And sometimes as a recap, I will re-hit my value points too. So I never want to leave that meeting with them thinking I'm just like somebody else. How am I different? We're all different. We all have background, experience, maybe not even in real estate as a newer agent. If you bartended, guess what? You have 10 years worth of customer service experience. You just have to learn how to phrase your experience to where it's meaningful to a seller. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, let's get out of here just real quick. And I wanted to show you guys the script book. And Bethany, I can see your face. Can you see this okay? Can you give me a thumbs up? All right, perfect. I was having trouble the other day, so I wanted to make sure we could all see it. So this is the call group script book. It's also a Mike Ferry script. So if you don't have the script book, you can sign up for a free account at Mike Ferry, and you have access to all of his scripts. Some of them are kind of funny, I will say, because they're very direct. But most of the scripts are really, really good. And I think it's worth downloading most of them. So this is the prequal. And I mean, you guys are totally capable of reading yourselves. But, are you planning to interview more than one agent for the job of selling your home? If they say yes, now I know I have competition, or I know that it may be just me. Tell me again, where are you moving to? How soon do you have to be there? Motivation. When I see you, how much do you want to list your home for? Again, this is pre-qualification. So I've made the appointment. I've called them back. I'm asking some additional questions before I go out to meet them. How much do you owe on the property? Don't let that question scare you, because you're trying to determine how much equity that you need to protect. And you could say that too. Have you ever thought about selling it yourself? Will you help finance the home for the buyer, or do you want to cash out? Would you please describe your home for me? All right. Do you have any other questions? And usually that's when they will say, what's your commission? And all you say, you never answer some of these questions directly here. You're like, thank you for asking. I understand that's really important to you. It'll be one of the first things we talk about when I get there. It's hard to give a haircut over the phone. So when I see you, I'll make sure that we go over that too. Just so you know, commission's negotiable. That way you've kind of answered them, you put them at ease, and then you can kind of move on from that. And then I go, ding, ding, ding. All right, I better have my A game, because commission's going to come up. All right, and here's the listing presentation. So Tina has recorded it, and it's on Freedom Builders. It's also on her YouTube channel if you want to watch her deliver it. Kevin has done it as well. And you can see the same words delivered slightly different. There's tons of these on YouTube, the Mike Ferry scripts. Again, I think they're really great. You guys are totally capable of reading. Don't let this scare you. Truly don't. But this part right here, talking about a comparative market analysis, if you can learn this piece, it truly helps you explain comps to a seller. And if done appropriately, it walks people right into the price that you're thinking. This home has more features and benefits than your home does. It's listed at this price, which is where you're probably thinking of listing it. Now, this home is not as good as yours, and it's listed lower. So you're kind of leading them down this path of logic. And it's not about my number. I want you to sell it for $1 million, because guess what? I make more money. But we're going to talk about comps from a market analysis standpoint, not Pam's number, but what the market is telling us we should list the house on. And that way you're not taking the blame before or after either. You kind of disassociate yourselves. Very, very factual. So read through these. These are, I think, really, really great. All right. Again, you guys are capable of reading. I will not read you a script. All right, let's get back to this real quick. All right, listing package. And that's sometimes a question too, especially as newer agents, is what do I bring with me? I want to make sure I have a really beautiful listing presentation. Well, this is my thought on it. Go get the appointments first and worry about that fancy schmancy listing presentation down the road. I think so many times we'll spend weeks and months making a gorgeous presentation and we have no appointments to take it to. Do something simple. I'm not saying you don't need it, because it does validate you, right? You look professional, you look legit when you go in and you have your and you have all of your beautiful material. So yeah, do it. But just, it's not the end all be all. I have never sat with someone and slide whipped them through a marketing presentation. I may show them a picture or two. I may make a point or two to re-emphasize what I'm saying verbally. So again, I think they're great to have. Marketing piece and a specific plan for home. So after you talk to someone, you walk through the home, you guys have spent some time together. I like to also kind of recap at the end, and I may actually follow up with an email on a specific game plan. So I've walked your home. I think it will be great for open houses. I would love to do some extra video through here. I noticed this room is empty, so I'd like to do some virtual staging here to show the possibilities. Whatever that game plan is, make sure it's specific to that home and it doesn't look so generalized, because I think we're all saying the same shit, right? I'm going to put it in MLS and it's going to go out to Zillow and Realtor.com. Yes, we're all saying that. But what am I going to do that's different? So, me, Pam Saxman, if I'm working in the Wake County market, I'm saying there's about 600 EXP agents that are in and around our area. And I have great access to them in one of our groups called Freedom Builders. We actually have a specific page that's dedicated to our coming soon properties and our newly listed properties. These are some of the most active agents in all of Wake County. They sell a ton of homes. So in addition to MLS, I'm going to make sure that I post it there. I'm also going to send it directly to some of the more active agents in and around this neighborhood to make sure that they know that your house is available. Whatever that is, right? That's different. I'm an aggressive agent. I'm not just a passive agent, just hoping by putting a sign in the yard that someone comes to your house, right? I'm going to go find those buyers. In your marketing piece too, it may be good to talk a little bit about condition. What do they need to do to get the home show ready? I think there's a misconception. And Gina, if you're on here, correct me if I'm wrong. I know this market is hot. I really do. I'm not naive to that. But man, don't miss out on the opportunity and just sling a house on the market without marketing it well, but with good photos, good descriptions, doing that work. Because I think when we do that, we're telling the whole city, yeah, there's not a lot of value in our services. You could have just put it on Zillow and you could have gotten the same effect. And sellers, I'm telling you, if you want top dollar in this market, buyers are looking for homes that they don't have to come into and do a ton of work. So I'm not talking about spending a lot of money, but I'm talking about let's get a good game plan of some things to make your house really pop and shine when we go active. We looked at that house last week, right? In Falls River, cute house. It's been sitting on the market for a while. It's overpriced and the condition's kind of rough too. So both of those things. A lot of agents will bring maybe a seller net sheet for folks to kind of see some different scenarios. And sellers may just not understand what are some of the fees and things that they're going to need to do in order to sell their home and to make sure that they're leaving with some money in hand. Sometimes it's tight for people. Maybe they bought it at a really high price and they need to see after they pay commission, after they pay taxes, after they pay off their mortgage, what are they going to walk away at the end of it? So seller net sheets are great. Disclosures, have them with you too. We had an agent on call team for a little while, Melody Tate. She's a great agent. She sells a lot of homes. And one thing that she did, and I loved it, is as she was wrapping up her listing presentation, she was kind of sealing the deal and asking them for business and how she would close them with. I went ahead and brought the disclosures with me so we can go ahead and get those taken care of today. So here they are. I started filling out the top part of it, and it's easier if we just do it together. So here they are, and I'm going to finish up the listing agreement while you do that. How does that sound? Presumptive close. You'd be shocked at how many people are like, okay, let's do it. We've agreed on price. We've agreed on commission. I like your game plan. Let's get started. So I love that. To have disclosures, because you may need to walk people through that a little bit too, because it's kind of confusing. But once they get started, then they also see why they need a real estate agent, right? What kind of pipes do I have? What are the answers to all these questions? What should I do? And you get to counsel them right live together. So I love that. And then maybe making sure that there is an education on your process too. What is next? After I leave here today with my signed listing agreement and my signed disclosures, This is what's going to happen over the next week. And this is when I expect to be able to make your home active. I like to set expectations, right? That it may be 7, maybe 10 days. I got to schedule a photographer. I need my stager to come out. There's a few little things that we need to have cleaned up with the handyman. Um, I want everything to look great. We only get one chance to make the first impression, and we want to make sure we do that right. All right, so I did think I would tell you because you're probably all paying. It's like, oh my God, she just told me I didn't need a listing presentation booklet. You do. There is one in the EXP Marketing Center in Enterprise, and it's totally, it's a template. You can change it up and put your face, your name, all of your information. You don't actually have to use every single page. So if the beginning, some of it seems like it's a lot, then just don't print that page. You can print this on a nice paper and you could put it in like a little presentation folder, and it could look really quite nice. And then when you get to the place where you're ready to do something more customized, you can absolutely do that too. But I think these look really great. There's a couple of different versions, so just get an Enterprise and play around. All right, you guys, now for a good solid week, have heard me talk about price, condition, location. And we're going to talk about it again when we're working with sellers too, because it really is the fundamentals, right? It's price, condition, and location. We established price by looking at comps. And when we looked at comps, we probably looked at, active, pending, and close, but we may have also looked at coming soon and may have also looked a little heavier into active than we would on the buy side, because we're trying to establish who's going to be our competition. We want to be the clear cut winner if we're going up multiple homes that are just like ours. So price is super important. I just had a listing. I literally went under contract with it yesterday, and it sat on the market longer than I wanted it to. It's because we overpriced it, to be honest. The seller bought it really high and had held on to it for years, hoping that the market would catch up, but we just listed it way too high, and I knew better, but I did. He was motivated, but we did reduce it and we did get it sold. But it's just a constant reminder that no matter how hot this market is, you can still overprice a home. Buyers are super savvy right now. They are on Zillow. They know what houses are worth. They truly do. Condition and location. I'll say a half credit to marketing, and I'll tell this to people too. If my price, condition, and location are great, and I add some marketing to it, oof, now we're talking about maybe multiple offers. We're talking about a really hot property. But here's the thing. If my price is off, I could put billboards up around town. It wouldn't matter probably. I could get it in front of every hot buyer, which I do with MLS. The price is off. Marketing to me matters very, very little. That's how important price and condition are. Again, the goal is if we can get all this going together, then that is where my marketing dollars matter. The reason why I like to talk about this early in the game with the sellers is because what do they think the number one problem is when it does not sell? They don't want to hear that it's overpriced. They think all real estate agents, all they want to do is just lower the price. So let's talk about it right out of the gate. Establish that expectation there. They also don't want to hear its condition. Those got off of walls. They don't necessarily understand that buyers, they connect money to all of that. A wall may be, a couple $100 to paint. In a buyer's mind, that's a couple of $1,000s. So we're trying to remove barriers. That's all. That's the only reason why we're addressing some condition. You sell a home different than you live in a home. We sometimes kind of fib, right? Like I love all those bright colors. Every wall in my house is gray. You may enjoy that, but you have to do something different when you sell. Yeah, go ahead, Gina. Hey, girl.
Hey, I just wanted to also add on to what you're saying is that two things. One, you cannot underprice a house in this market,
Mhm.
but you can overprice it. So, your sellers are much better off to have the price driven up, just like an auction would happen, than they are to have to follow and chase the market down. Um, and then two is that, agreed, what I tell sellers all the time is that, we may not, if your condition isn't great, for example, you have wallpaper, you have laminate countertops, or you have any of those things that are just cosmetic,
Mhm.
but are not meeting what the expectation is of the market in that price range, then so often what will happen is that a wife, and I hate to be sexist, but generally this is how it falls, will think, especially if they're not first time home buyers, well, the last time we bought a house and it needed new XYZ, carpet, paint, countertops, whatever. He told me that we were going to take care of that after closing, and it didn't happen. And so, what her response will be is, I don't know, there's just something off about this house. I can't put my finger on it.
Love it.
And that's usually a clue to the condition, and she doesn't trust that it's going to happen. So just also
Love
keep
it.
that in mind. And I use that example with sellers all the time. And usually you can see light bulbs going off. So I just want to share that.
Honey, I love that, Gina, because I literally just had that. I was in a house that needed a little bit of work, and the husband walked away because he was loving it because it was the right price. And he walked away, and she goes, "We can't get this house because he will never spend the money to fix it like it needs to." So you're right, Gina. But she would never say that to him, but she said it to me privately. Love it. And I totally agree with Gina about pricing. You can't underprice it. So when people get worried about that, it's like, I don't want to leave money on the table. You can drive a price up by underpricing it just ever so slightly. So this chart is in some of the listing presentations. So I thought I would kind of, bring it out for you guys to look at too. So asking price, if you priced it right at market value, you are attracting about 60% of the buyers. But if you overprice it by just 15%, 10% even, you are only capturing 30% and 10% of your hot ready buyers in your price point. But you can see if you underprice a little bit, you're going to capture so much more of the percentage of buyers. And then something else that's sometimes on the TAR report, was always on the TAR report, but this is one that I had pulled in the past, which I thought was kind of cool, is all listings with at least one price drop from original sold in an average of 44 days at 94% of original list price. Resale listings with no price drop sold an average of 9 days at 107% of original list. I think that quote really speaks to both condition and price. If they had to reduce the price was off. So, yeah, seller, you may think about overpricing it, but you're going to hurt yourself and lose money in the end. Again, these aren't my numbers. This is what our market is telling us from a very factual standpoint. So use data when you can. All right, so let's talk a little bit about condition, value of staging consult. I know Tina, and I know there's a lot of other agents that will do this as well, is hire a stager to just come out and give a consult and give a report, right? What their recommendations are. And there's some stagers that will do this, and they work really for real estate agents. And why Tina, I think, started to use this is a couple of reasons. One is that it keeps you in the positive, happy place with the seller. You're not necessarily the one that's just hitting them with bad news or giving them, I'm going to spend this money here, and I think you need to do that. Sometimes it can sound like you're tearing their house up, and it can be personal for people. So, Tina would lightly say, I think might want to neutralize some walls, maybe do a little bit of, removing some personal effects in this room. And then she would call Becca and say, hey, I really feel like we strongly need to change the paint color in these two rooms. I'd love to talk to them about painting some cabinets. And so Becca kind of knew also what Tina's opinion was and what needed to be kind of reinforced. And she would go out and she would, reiterate a lot of what Tina had said and also provide some more details. And what it really would help with is to provide another resource. So, again, you're showing your value is something that Tina would pay for to have someone come out or do a FaceTime with her. And so, never charge the client for that. However, if they needed actual staging, like someone to come out and purchase items for the home, then Becca could work out and negotiate, like, I'd be happy to take care of some of those things for you. My fee to purchase some items are this. So I think it was it worked out really, really great. Again, showing value. But a lot of her things really centered around decluttering. It's amazing. When you live in a home, you sometimes don't even see the things that are around you, I think. Like we were living with just stuff. You just get accustomed to it. So when someone comes in and they look at it from the eye of a buyer, they're trying to just neutralize and make spaces stand out. If there's so many things in a room, buyers will fixate on all the trinkets and all the things. If there is something that's really unique, right? Like a crazy piece of furniture or some sort of decor that's interesting, you'll notice that your buyers will focus right in on that. So they're not seeing room sizes, they're not seeing potential, and they also may be seeing your family. So they think it's still your home and they can't envision themselves living there. So decluttering is huge. And you have to do it in a sensitive way because I think some folks can get kind of offended because they have some personal attachments to things. Paint choices. Look, again, we all like to have maybe a little bit of color in our lives, but honestly, buyers they need some blank canvases and we don't want them to get distracted on something that is a bold choice that they think is going to cost them thousands of dollars to fix. Or to Gina's point, there just will never get around to that change. So why even put it up there? Neutralizing everything and showing off a room instead of focusing on the things. And then sometimes bringing back to life. I hired Becca one time because I had a client that had neutralized the house so much that there was no life. There was nothing that popped in the photos. Everything really looked super, super bland. It was terrible. So she bought like just some pillows and some accessories that really highlighted the room and the size and brightness, and it made it feel warmer like a home. And so she can certainly do those types of things too. And it's not just Becca in the market. There's lots of stagers that would love to work with you to help you. All right, so pictures are worth 1,000 words. Remember when I said sometimes it's great in your listing presentation if you can provide some pictures of condition. There are homes that still have a lot of this dark trim. And thank you to our new home construction communities, we're seeing more and more white cabinets, white trim, light and bright seems to be the reoccurring theme. People look at new home construction. People look at HGTV. So they're used to the things on the right. And when they see the house on the left, it can provide some panic. Holy moly, that's going to be a lot of white paint. It's going to cost me a small fortune to do. These are some before and after photos. And you can actually pull some online too if you don't have that in your repertoire right now. Just to show some examples of what truly paint can do. There's a lot of folks that will also say, I am not painting my solid cherry cabinets white. Sometimes you have to show pictures, and then when you show it, then people go, oh, okay, I get it. All right, so the house on the left was one that call group picked up. It's probably been maybe 2 years now, year and a half. It's been a little piece of time, but it was expired. It was North Raleigh off of Creedmoor Road. So it was a really great area. And they just suffered from condition. And to be honest with you, their price was a little bit off too, but I think it was more condition than anything else. So we had Becca go out there, take a look, and she gave some paint recommendations to them to help them neutralize and to provide a little bit of comfort. Also, you'll see some light fixtures. There's also some hardware on cabinets that were also switched out as well. But if we're looking at the kitchen, it's the same granite, it's the same cabinets, it's the same floor, even. And in fact, the light fixture above the island is also the same. But paint and also some hardware really updated this space. Bathroom, same thing, just really painted some of those, the cabinets and brightened up the room, changed out some light fixtures. I believe that shower was the same way. All that trim was painted out white. And yeah, I mean, again, pictures say 1,000 words. So this home, which had previously been expired for, was on the market for months, sold, I think in 4 days. And I believe it sold either at asking or maybe slightly above with this work. And I don't believe this was an expensive project. I believe they spent maybe $6,000 to $10,000, and they got their home sold. And in this case, they really needed to sell too. So this was a win-win. And I'm sure you guys are looking at the picture going, holy crap, it's the same house. I love it. I love seeing the pictures because, you just can't. All right, here's another example. This was a luxury home on the right-hand side, and it was on King Post Drive. It was a really cool, funky little house. But this kitchen, solid wood cabinets. It was that whole, like, I'm not painting my cherry cabinets. They were not quite as red as I think this photo kind of makes it out to be. But I like these photos because you can say it's not just our 350, 450,000 homes. We're talking about 8, 900,000, $1 million. You can do it right if you hire the right people. And I think that looks tremendously better. And I even love more that the picture is at the exact same angle. And what a difference does it make? This house sat on the market with these red damn cabinets for months. And we made some changes, neutralized the paint also on the walls, and it sold. Again, reiterating, condition really matters. All right, so let's talk a little bit about marketing. Remember, I was giving it halvesies. We've talked some about price. We just talked about condition some. So let's talk a little bit about marketing. Online is your very first showing. I don't think you should necessarily have your sellers putting so much pressure on you to get your listing up within 2 days. Now, are there occasions where you just have to? Absolutely. But if you can do the right thing and really get your photos done, get your measurements in, get your video done, if you're going to do that, just know you want to make a kick-ass first impression. And when people are looking at it online, you want it to go further. You don't want them to stop there. You want them to make those appointments. So you have to even place your photo orders. Like, think about everything really strategically. If there's some standout rooms or some really wow factors, I think you got to stack those photos early in the game. Because think about it. People may look at your first 3 photos and they never get past that. And I will see some pictures that are just, I mean, they could have been in the back. Thank you for including, but I may not have gotten to your awesome kitchen or your awesome backyard because of, how many photos that you had in there. Strategy on when to put on market. I think this may vary from place to place. I do know here in the coast, we make things active, it seems like, either on a Wednesday or a Thursday because we want a really strong showing on the weekend. So I tell my buyers even, it's going to feel a little lighter maybe Monday, Tuesday. Come Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, Friday morning, you will start seeing a lot more activity. So buyers are trained. So if I'm going to list a home, I'm probably going to use that same strategy. Who's going to be looking at homes? Kyle Whistle did a video last Monday. He and Dan were talking about timing of things. Like if you're going to do an open house, there's more people kind of playing hooky from work on Thursdays and Fridays, and they're looking at things online. So it's really, I think, a missed opportunity if you bury it on a Monday, Tuesday when people maybe aren't thinking about real estate, or if you put it on a Sunday on the tail end of a weekend too, you may miss some folks. Coming soon status. I mean, it's funny at the coast, there's not a ton of homes that go coming soon. I think the mentality here is they're just moving fast enough and we're just good going active. So I was a little bit surprised, but you do see it more in the Triangle market. And there's different schools of thought on it. Marty Hampton's pretty much grown her brand heavily around coming soon homes. The last I've kind of read about it is a lot of people feel like it's still great, but maybe not have it coming soon for a month, 1 to 2 weeks, to where people can see it. You may potentially get some offers sight unseen, but there's some downside to that too, potentially. But you're kind of frothing up activity, right? Interest. So a good week or two coming soon, probably a good week, should be really great to help your sellers get the most hot, the most active, the ready to pull the trigger buyers looking at your property. Now, coming soon does not syndicate out to Zillow or Realtor.com, so you may be missing some, but you are picking up buyers that are working with real estate agents who tend to be the most serious, down to business, not kicking tires buyers. And those are the people that I want to appeal to. All right, manage feedback as it comes in. I have my feedback set to where it only goes to the seller after I release it to them, because I want to read that feedback and see if I need to adjust it a little bit. Some agents can be a little harsh, and I don't want the message to get lost that it's overpriced and somebody said something derogatory about the carpet. I would rather my seller be able to focus on the real information at hand. So you can slightly edit it if you need to. Some feedback is just not helpful, but I also love it when people do fill out feedback. Here's another thing. If the house is sitting on the market at all, don't just lean on the feedback as it comes in. Be proactive and call agents. It never ceases to amaze me. You'll get just some generic feedback, and I get it because I'm in the car too, and I'm just trying to get it out of my my notifications. And so I put probably bare minimum on a good portion of them. So I do understand. But you call the agent and say, hey, just wanted to see if I could get a little bit more information on the showing and see what you really thought about it. If you've got some additional feedback, I'd really appreciate it. The reason why I like to do that is because most of us don't put a lot of information around price, because I'm not necessarily running comps before I show every single home. And if it's price and your seller's been fighting with you, you need some data and some information to support you. So call the agent, get a little bit more information for them. They may be more candid with you just on the phone than they would be in feedback. So just something to consider if a house is sitting for a minute. Communication, communication, communication. This is something else I really learned from Tina too. If you're not talking to your sellers, they're thinking you're not doing anything sometimes. And it's just important for you to stay proactive and in front of them, because the moment they start asking questions and you feel like you're behind the 8 ball and you're responding instead of driving the conversation, that's where it doesn't necessarily feel great. But if you're proactively calling them once a week, once or twice a week, depending on the situation, then they know you haven't forgotten them, because they're afraid you're going to forget them, especially when you get really busy. So make sure you're keeping your communication up. I truly think that helps you get referrals. All right. Also, on a marketing standpoint, I mentioned virtual staging earlier, and I thought it would be worth kind of showing it today for those of you that may not have seen it before. There's plenty of companies. One that's really affordable right now is called Box Brownie. They will remove furniture from a full room, which is pretty amazing to see. And then they will add back in virtual staging. They could also paint cabinets, they could paint walls, they can add night lights. It's truly amazing what they can do to a home. Where I think it's particularly good is homes that are empty. It's funny because homes sometimes to folks can actually feel smaller when they don't have furniture in it, and people can be lost trying to determine where furniture would go. So, virtual staging, again, if it's your first showing, it allows people to understand how they would live in that space. So consider it's really cheap. I think it's like 20 bucks. No, I think it's less than that. Maybe $10 a picture. And just don't do every single picture. Just choose the ones that really matter. This was, I think, a $750,000 house in Cary, and they had moved out, and it needed a little bit more. And it's amazing that you will get more showings when you do something like this. And this dining room, actually, this light is fake. It doesn't even exist. So we just properly disclosed it in the comments with the photos and in the agent remarks saying that virtual staging was used. All right, soapbox time. Value of good photography. Oh, dear Lord. Now, I will say Raleigh market so much better from a photography standpoint. In fact, I was trying to find like some really bad listings last night, and I was having a tough time in Raleigh because they're pretty good. Well, Wake County, period. At the coast, not so much. So photography, y'all. I mean, it really costs like 150 to 250, depending on your photographer. And it's just some of the best money that you can absolutely spend. I don't care if you have iPhone 15, unless you're a professional and really get the lighting right, you just don't do a home justice. Telling you what, I'm not going to risk not making 10, 15, $20,000 by not spending $200. I just think that's ludicrous. I really do. I would tell any agent that. Example, there's a beautiful home. It's like almost 900,000 in Holden Beach on the canal. And I sent it to my client and she said, it's terrible. I don't want to go see it. I was like, but it's a canal house and it's actually priced well for the size and where it is. I was like, we should totally go look at it. And she's like, that thing looks awful. Look at it. And I said, I almost guarantee you that it's the photos. They're dark. And she just took really weird angles of the room. I was like, I'm going to pop over there. I'm going to do a video and I'm going to send it to you. And we'll see if I'm right. So I did. And y'all, the house is freaking nice, like crazy nice. It's an agent owner, or I would have given her, I think, a little bit more of a candid feedback. But the house in a hot, hot market with very, very few canal homes has been sitting on the market for 3 weeks now, unnecessarily, because the photos are terrible. So, all right. Let's talk about transaction coordination too. So let's get into the process just a little bit for the next few minutes. This is kind of where you can shine as well. So remember I said we develop a plan with them, right? And then we kind of give them timelines of what we're going to do to get the house ready to hit go. And it's really on us and where we can show our value by scheduling vendors. So why do people go to Mark Spain and why do people sell to Open Door and they sell to Zillow? Because it's easy. That's a good portion of it. They don't want to have to do all this stuff. It seems intimidating, seems scary. I don't even know who to call. So people are giving up sometimes, big chunks of money just from a convenience. We do the same thing when we take our cars to CarMax. I could make more money if I sold it myself, but it's convenient to just take it to someone and they take care of it. So I think we have to tell people how easy we can make this process. But we have to make it easy for them. We have to show them that I have a plan. I have all the contractors. I have all the vendors. I'm going to make this as simple as possible to you. That's my goal, is to net you the most money. And for you at the end of this to think, wow, that was pretty super simple. So if we can put together a plan on what we need to do, I may need your checkbook to pay for a few things, but I will take care of scheduling and coordinating all the things to get your home kicking ready. I love that part because I think that's tremendous, tremendous value. Why are people giving 25% up to a company instead of allowing us to take care of it? And by the way, you can justify a higher commission if you're doing all of this. If someone needs some work and I'm running project on it, I could probably ask for a higher commission on it too and get it. All right. I feel like I'm soapbox today. You do need a little bit of information before you really get into the paperwork. And I call it kind of our pre-due diligence. If it's a serious appointment I'm going on, I've pre-qualified them, they're motivated, I think we're going to be able to come to an agreement. I want this listing, then I'm going to make sure that I know what I'm looking at when I get there. I'm going to have my ducks in a row. I'm going to do my homework. I'm going to look at the deed. I'm going to make sure the people that are going to be signing the listing agreement are actually the owners of the property. Some funny stories there. Do I have all the parties that need to be here at the table? Are they here? Is everybody on board on selling this property? Look at your deeds. It used to be called Realist, but it's the program within your MLS. It's that little yellow button when you see the little buttons underneath the picture, or in your resources, you can pull it up as well. It's called CRS Tax, and it will give you an idea of how much mortgage someone has. So you can kind of determine before you get there, do we have a lot of equity in this home, or is this going to be tight? Or are they potentially upside down? That's great information to know as well. It also in the CRS tax, instead of just going to like wakecounty.gov, it'll also tell you what your what the property description is, the legal description, all of those kinds of things that you will need when you're writing the listing agreement out too. School assignments are really big in Wake County, so do a little bit of homework there. Is the school, is the class, are there classes capped at that particular school? What's the plan there? Are there multiple schools that it's designated to? Have an understanding so you can ask really great questions, especially if you're in some of these pockets in Wake County that are super premium because of their school assignment. IMAPs. So I have not shown you guys this time, and we're a little low on time, and I actually do have to leave at noon today. So we will do this on Thursday. We will look at IMAPs as part of our due diligence. So it is an app that you can download. It's also available online, and it's Wake County IMAPs, where you're able to add layers to a property to where you could see if it's in a flood zone, you could see if it's septic. Is I-540 going to go right through this lot? You can put a lot of filters and layers on it and have a better understanding of what you're getting ready to drive over and see. You can also pull septic permits from there if they're loaded. But if it is septic, you need to make sure that it is permitted for the number of bedrooms that you're going to market the property for. If you are standing in a 4th bedroom and the permit only says 3, then you're only allowed to market it as a 3-bedroom home. You could designate that space potentially as something else, as a flex room, bonus room, something like that, but you cannot market it as a 4-bedroom home. HOA documents and confirmation. I like to pull them because you get a lot of people asking questions about the HOA. What does it cover? How much is it? How often is it paid? Townhouses, they'll say exterior maintenance. Well, okay, what part of the exterior maintenance? Be proactive. You want to be the agent where people go, damn, Gina's got all that information up. She is a rock star. You want to remove barriers. I don't want to create more questions or have a buyer hold off on making an offer because they then have to go do their homework. If you answer all those questions, utilities, all of that, Everything is at their fingertips. You've made it easy for them. You've had them hit the easy button to get you an offer, which I really love. All right, guys, I'm going to copy this link. Oops, I think I am anyway. I hope you guys can still see my screen. And I'm going to put it in the chat box because everybody needs to save this to your desktop. We all work typically multiple counties. Even in the Triangle area, you're probably working in Wake and Orange and Johnson counties. And you're just like, where do I get all that information? If you come to this site, every county here has the county site, the Register of Deeds where you can do searches, GIS, which is like the iMaps. It's the layering system where you can see, all those things we talked about. Tax card, tax has been paid. Who is paying taxes? How much is it? You could confirm all of that. And then if there's a Chamber of Commerce, I don't use that section, but I mean, several times a week, I am on this and I'm using probably Register of Deeds, GIS, and tax. This is a great little resource, all on one link. Love it. Right, don't forget to have those disclosures before you go active because you will get hit up for them and it's part of the contract, right? If the buyer has seen the disclosures, check it, make sure it appears to be active to right to you. If you have been looking at polybutylene pipes and someone has checked copper, then maybe you guys should have a conversation. If they have checked that it's a brand new HVAC and you go out there and go, that is not a new HVAC, have a conversation because that is how people get angry during due diligence is that they feel like they have been lied to because of lack of disclosure. And you're not off the hook. It is a seller disclosure. However, you have eyeballs and you have knowledge. So if you see something that does not add up, and we had this at Call Group. It's the reason why I mentioned it. So another story, we had a seller check the box on HVAC saying that it was a newer unit. We marketed it as a newer unit. It was in the disclosures. We actually even had it in the remarks, because it was great. Went under contract during due diligence. They found that it was not a new unit. Now he had considerable work done to it where it kind of rebuilt the HVAC, but it was not a brand new unit. So the buyers were pissed. And when they terminated, they threatened lawsuit because of poor disclosure. And they felt like they were being lied to by both the seller and then us as listing agents had marketed it as a brand new HVAC. And so it got kind of ugly. They were asking for the due diligence money back. So we were able to work all that out. The seller actually did give the due diligence back because of it. But if our agent had just looked at the unit, they may have seen like, wait a second, this is not new. So just wanted to put that in mind. So to save you the trouble down the road. All right, so then you put it in MLS, which I make light of this. It's kind of lengthy because there's a lot of required fields. And then you hit go, and then you have to set up your showing time. And then you have to add all your documents and Doc Manager too. So when you get there, let one of us know, and we could probably help you if you need help there. All right, while on the market, spot check what the public is seeing. And that has bit me before when I haven't gone and looked at what like was in Zillow or Realtor.com or some of these tertiary sites. Just make sure you're syndicating correctly out. Again, keep communication high. They want to hear from you. They're nervous. They want to see how things are going. How many showings are we getting? What's the feedback like? How many online views am I getting? Which you can see in Zillow and Realtor.com and also our MLS. Be proactive as always, monitor the market, keep a watch on some actives and competition. So I set up my seller on a listing alert in his area. So anything that hit the market that was going to be competition for him, he would see it. And it was actually great because he would call me and go, oh crap, they're undercutting us on price. It was reemphasizing though, the price was high. He was getting it. He needed more information. Last thing I'll say here too is this is a little trick that Tina would use, and I'd be damned, I think she's right. If something becomes stale a little bit and you move the pictures around, or maybe you add some virtual pictures, even changing some of the description, it's funny how it almost works as like, creating, it kind of moves the listing up a little bit. I don't know how it does that, but it does work. Every time I've added more photos, did a little change, it's like you'd see a little uptick in showings. So there's something to that. And then sometimes you will tweak a price to get back on the hot sheets and be shown as a newer property. All right, we've talked about this a little bit. I've got to wrap this up here in just a minute, but it's time to do a price reduction. The market is telling us, remember, I don't set the price. It's not my Pam Saxon's price. It's the market is telling us an adjustment needs to be made. The market is telling us. When showings drop significantly, is also another time to talk about it. Or if you've had lots of showings, no offer. So one thing, again, I keep talking, Tina's like the best at this stuff, but some of the things that she would say, if we're having a ton of showings, but no offers, we're showing some value, but not quite enough value for someone to make an offer. Showed enough to get them there, but not enough to get an offer. People are comparing us and we're missing the boat by just a little bit. If we have it active and we're not getting many showings at all, then we've probably missed the price, more significantly. So the first 10 days will probably tell us everything we need to know about our price. And if it's not right, we probably need to make an adjustment sooner rather than later. That is always helpful. Again, it's not my stuff. It's the market is telling us. Feedback can be helpful if it says, what you needed to say. If you're going to do a price reduction, Tina would always say, make it a meaningful amount. Don't do $100, $500, $1,000. She was a fan of, we're going to do a price reduction. Let's make it count. I'm talking $5,000 to $10,000, and more often than not, she was going after $10,000 on a price reduction. And the value you get back on hot sheets. Again, you're seen as a little bit of a newer property. All right, homework. I'm going to wrap this puppy up. Is the property that we looked at last week. Not everybody looked at it with us, but honestly, it was good for buyers to run comps on. And it's a perfect property to talk about price, condition, location. Well, let's talk about that one a little bit more and we'll dig down in. So I want you guys to look at it, look at the photos, look at anything you can find around it. And what would be your recommendation to get this home sold? It's been on the market for a couple months now. Has a tenant in there, I get it. But what would you do? What would be your recommendations at this point? It's time for something to change. Or they just have it out there and just maybe hope that maybe they get an offer on it. But let's develop a plan on what we would talk to our seller. And then also on Thursday, we're going to talk about due diligence process as a seller. And we're also going to run some comps from a listing standpoint too. And we'll do that together as well. All right, guys, thanks for joining me today. I hope you have a great rest of your Monday, and I'll see y'all on Thursday. Bye.